to Elisabeth Hogarth Designs. I'm jumping straight in by showing you a set of paper dolls that I've been making. I've wanted these for many years and I was able to get hold of them just before Christmas. They are cling stamps. The back of them are rubber, but you can use them in a variety of ways. So here I've got Taylor, and you can see from the packaging just how beloved this range is, and the stamp itself is fairly substantial, so you would need to use your rubber stamp techniques for this, but it's very easy with a stamping platform. The first set of cards, the ladies are very long. These are big stamps. You're looking at around about 3 inches by 8 inches. I do have some smaller stamps, but the idea is that I wanted to create some fashion cards, so I've used Craft Consortium papers here. These cards remind me of my daughters, particularly as they were growing up. They're very close in age and they used to like wearing the same style, so I imagined how I would dress them. And I used some of Craft Consortium's Eastern Influences paper to get the pattern work. So you can see here in the papers that you've got an Eastern influence, which is a great name for the paper. So let me quickly show you the papers. Great range of colours and designs, really beautiful Moroccan inspired tiles. And when you look at paper like this, you wouldn't think that it could become a dress on a doll, but it works perfectly. So these are the papers that I used for this particular card, and then I aligned it with some of the newer collections. You've got the grunge and the retro, and believe it or not, the beach arts work really well as well. So you can see that I'm using the papers with a range of the peaches and the pink for skin tones. For Olivia and Claudette's card I use the browner tones, but it's a great way of adding the colours that you require without physically colouring in the stamps yourself. So you can see that the papers combined perfectly to give you these hues in the card. Next up we have Amberley. I like the extras on this one. I haven't tried the coat yet, but here's Amberley dressed in her indigo jeans. I've used floral stamps for the background, and here we use a retro summer and the fabulous new midnight ink drops, so you can see how all the mottled colours work. I made several cards with Melissa, very 1950s inspired dress, so I brought in the blooms where you've got the floral elements and the polka dots, and I used the beach huts for the background. I loved all the different colour combinations. I made a wedding card as well with one of the boys, and I gave Hunter a tartan shirt and midnight black shorts. Now you've seen what can be achieved to paper piece these dolls, I'm going to make a smaller card using Meg. Meg measures round about 2 inches by 5 inches. So you can add her to a 4x6 card. You can use the other stamps as sentiments within the card, but I'm going to begin by making the old-fashioned paper dolls themselves. For this I'm going to use the skin coloured tones, so it could be the browns, the blacks, the pinks. I'm using VersaFine Clair black onyx ink to give it a crisp outline, and I go in a couple of times because I want this particular outline to be thicker, and I'll explain why later on. I usually make these dolls in pairs because I mix and match the outfits, so I end up stamping the pattern papers several times. Don't forget, if you're using a stamping platform, to take out the extra layer of foam, or indeed to flip the plate so that the platform recognises that you're working with a rubber stamp. They are clear, crisp images. I've had a perfect result every single time, and they are a complete pleasure to work with. So now I'm thinking about the dress designs. I'm working with the different pattern papers so that you'll see blooms come into play, you'll see the grunge and all of the various Craft Consortium papers. The best thing to do is to get your scraps out, take out the colours and just play. Creating a wardrobe, I want a mix of colours and textures and patterns. I may not need the entire image to be stamped, so this is when I bring my scraps in. I'm stamping several pairs of shoes. I'm using both sides of the paper to give me bonnets and accessories. You can really make the most of all the excess bits of paper that you have. Nothing is wrong at this stage, it's just a matter of experimenting. Some of it you will use in this particular project, the other pieces you can save for when you make another card, but by making 2 cards at a time, I'm going to mix and match the elements until I come up with something that I like. I quite often stamp extra of the hair. I'm going for the golden blondes for this particular card, but I also use the blacks with the gold streaks in it from Midnight. It's a shot in the dark at the moment, but you'll soon discover that by just going for your everyday colours, you'll come up with something really natural that you can then incorporate into the card. Having a stamping platform makes this process really easy, but you can use your blocks. Stamping is quite a repetitive process, as is the next stage. So if you have run out of ideas for crafting, by doing something like this, you're really working through a process and you end up with fantastic results. So now I'm going to go back to the paper dolls themselves. So this is the base. This is what we used to dress when we had paper dolls as children. We used to have the base doll given to us, and then we would dress them in the various outfits. You might be able to see on the video here that I leave a 1mm border to the cutout, and this will become clear later on. You don't have to be completely precise, but leave yourself a 1mm border, and then this will allow you a little bit of leeway when you come to glue on the outfits. Then it's just a matter of cutting out every single element, and you'll see this time that I'm cutting on the lines themselves. So I want the floral dress, so I'm cutting on those clear, crisp black outlines, and then these will allow me to attach them to the doll. All the elements have now been cut out. I'm going to start making up the dolls. I've used the retro summer backgrounds because we've got the same kind of colour tones as we have with the outfits, and that's a neat way to bring in a quick background. And this is where the fun begins, when you can start deciding on the outfits that you're going to give the dolls. It can be a whole mix of the patterns and the florals and the colours. In my mind, Meg is quite a young lady, so I thought originally that I would give her some polka dot stockings, but didn't really work out that way. So I kept mixing up the colours and then decided to go back in and give myself a few more colourways. But here you can see I'm adding some interest to the stamp background, I moved from the VersaFine Clair to the Oxide. I used Kitsch Flamingo and Tumbled Glass in a blend of the two inks. The stamps are from Studio Light and they're called Vintage Ticket, so I had a wide range of designs to work with. My apologies at this stage, I had to turn my overhead light on and I didn't appreciate that it was affecting the blackboard, so I hope that doesn't distract you too much. I'm happy with the first girl's outfit, so I'm using some wet glue to stick the elements in place. I add the hair first, and then I add the bonnet because that's what you would do in real life, so it gives a more realistic effect. And then I work my way round, cutting out the elements that I want. You can mix and match so that you can add a different colour pocket, you can add a lining to the dress. It's really up to you how the elements come together. I wanted some extra detail, so I went back in with the cling stamp and I brought the paper to the stamp so that I could pull out the little detail that I wanted, which was the ribbon and the flower on the hat. I also added the heart from the flower pot, and then I moved on to the second doll. I decided against adding some more yellow hair because it didn't suit her outfit, and in the end I colour in her hair using pencils. I used 2 shades of brown, quite a simple colouring in as we did as children. And then I added the bonnet on top before moving on to the rest of her outfit. This little girl had the floral blooms dress, and I added the same ribbon to her bonnet and to her shoes. It sounds more like a fashion parade than a crafting video, but again I wanted some extra elements, so I bought in a raspberry pink trim and a little detail on the pocket. These are really fun to do. They do take a little bit of time, but they are so therapeutic and mindful. Paper piecing is a great way to bring colour to your stamps. If you're not feeling like you want to colour everything, then paper piece instead. Now I'm going back in and I'm cutting away that final border, and this really neatens up all of the dressing of the doll. The next step is to add a little bit more pink and peach to the face and the body, just to add a little bit of shadowing. And I also neatened up the hair with the yellow pencil, and then I'm moving towards adding the dolls to the background. There's a lot of moving around of the elements until I'm happy with the layouts, and again this may take some time, but that really doesn't bother me because that's creating your own little piece of art. I line the edge of the background paper using a wide nibbed pen, and I personally prefer rounding off the corners, but that's entirely up to you. So I round off the corners of the base and the card before adding my first mat. This particular doll would be quite flat on the paper, so I'm not using any sticky pads or glue gel, but I have done that in the past and it is very effective. Then I'm bringing in the elements and I'm essentially bringing all of the card together. Card 1 is almost complete, so I then move back to card number 2 and I wanted to bring in a flower stamp to the background because I was adding the garden to the front and I wanted it to look like we got a garden in the background. So it's just a simple little detail that will make a difference to the card. I wanted another layer of texture, so I added a polka dot strip. Again, I rounded off the corners, used my thick marker pen to outline the edge, and then brought the card together. This is a fantastic range of stamps and I really loved using them with the Craft Consortium papers. Craft Consortium are a UK based family business. If you want more ideas like this, I'm actually a member of their design team and I help to run the Facebook group, the Craft Consortium official network. So I'll leave you the link below. It would be great to see you over there. And if you end up creating cards like this, please do tag me in your comments on social media. So to finish off this particular card, I'm using the dewdrop embellishments. I added a sentiment, and here you have two more cards to join the older ladies. Let me know in the comments below which one is your favourite. Please do join me again very soon for some more crafting fun at Elisabeth Hogarth Designs. Bye bye for now.